Good morning, all. I'll give you a quick recap on OpenSQL concepts. So, the last session we created OpenSQL statements using select statement. So, what is OpenSQL? So, OpenSQL statements we write in SAP ABAP, and these statements are database independent, right? OpenSQL statements are database independent. OpenSQL statements allow you to access any database. You can create OpenSQL statements on any kind of database, right? And we write OpenSQL statement within the application system, ABAP layer, right? These OpenSQL statements will be automatically converted into what kind of statements? Native SQL. Okay, in background, you don't need to worry about writing separate SQL statements for the different databases, right? We implement only OpenSQL so that OpenSQL will be automatically converted into native SQL in background. Okay, so why we use OpenSQL, which supports all databases? Because it will reduce the dependency, right? In future, if you need to change the database, if there is any changes to the database, you do not need to change all the programs, right? All the SQL statements in the programs. If you write OpenSQL, okay, and it is possible to write native SQL statements, okay. That is also possible. In few rare scenarios, we use native SQL statements, okay, to access any tables that are not available in data dictionary or any external database tables you need to access. At that time, we need to write native SQL statements, okay. But what is the recommended SQL? Native SQL or OpenSQL?
OpenSQL.
OpenSQL is recommended. Now, there are different statements, OpenSQL statements, to access the database like select, insert, update, modify, and delete. What is select statement? Select statement is used to read the data from database tables into our application program level, and we keep the data in variables, work area, or internal tables temporarily only during program runtime. Okay, but data will be permanently stored in database tables. And insert statement, we use insert statement to create a new record in the database table. The update statement, it is used to change or modify, change the existing record in the database table. To execute the update statement, what is required? And a specific record, that record should be already available in the database. Otherwise, update statement is going to fail. Okay. Next, modify. What is modify statement? So modify is combination of update and insert. When you execute modify statement, it will change the record if the record is already available. Okay. It will change any non-primary key values. If the record is already available in the database table. If the record is not available, then what it will do? It will create a new record. It will insert a new record. Okay. So when we use modify and when we use update,
So existing data having we have to use update.
if the record is already there in the database table and if we need to change it, we use update statement. Then
Yes.
modify also do the same thing, right? It can update the data, right?
If the data is not there, then we can create and update, insert the data.
So when we just need to change the existing record, then we use update statement. Okay? We do not use modify because it will unnecessarily create a record, right? Our task is just to change the existing record, then we need to use update statement. Okay, we should not use modify because it will create a new record that is not needed, right? But when our task is to change the existing record if it is available. If it is not available, we need to create a new record, right? Then we use a modify statement. Okay, and delete statement. It is used to delete the records from database table. And let's see select statements. We created select single statement yesterday. Sorry, in the previous session. So what is select single statement? What is select single statement? It will select a single record from database table into work area. Only one single record every time, right? Select single. We need to specify the table name and the work area name and the where condition. So what is mandatory when we are using select single statement? We need to pass all primary keys in the where condition. We need to pass all primary key fields in the where condition. Let's say there are five primary keys in the table. So we need to pass all five primary key values as inputs in the where condition. That is mandatory when you are using select single statement. If you do not pass all the primary keys, is it going to work or not? It will work, right? It will work, but it is not recommended to use because you are not specifying what is that exact single record you are expecting, right? If you pass all the primary keys, then only you can specify what is that exact record you are expecting, right? Yes or no? If you are trying to select employee salary, if you are trying to select employee salary of a particular month, right? So what are the primary keys in employee salary table? Let's assume employee ID and month are the primary keys. If you just pass employee ID in the where condition where employee ID equal to 100, are you going to get salary record of a specific month? No, right? You are not specifying that month value. What is the month you are expecting, right? So if you don't pass few primary keys, then you may not be able to select the exact record. So that's why where condition, all the primary key fields are mandatory when we are using select single statement. Okay. There is another alternative for select single where you you may not be able to pass in few cases, you may not be able to pass all the primary keys, right? All the primary keys because you don't have that input with you, right? So at the time what we need to do, we have an alternative select up to one row. So we need to use select up to one row select statement instead of select single. When we go for this,
And we are not using primary.
okay, when all the primary key values are not available, where you cannot pass all the primary key values, then what is the alternative for select single? Select
Select
up
up
to
to
one
one.
row. So what it will do? It will select first available record in the database table. First available record in the database table. Okay. Where if you pass employee ID equal to 100, then it won't check for every record. So it will try to find the first available record with employee ID 100 and it will select. Okay. Is everyone clear? It's a very important interview question. Difference between select single and select up to one row. So when we use select up to one row, When we need to select a single record, but we do not have complete primary key inputs, then we go for which statement?
Select.
Select up to one row. It will select first available record. That's it. Right? But the select single statement is for selecting exact record. For that, we need to pass all the primary key values. Okay? It's a very important interview question. Is everyone clear?
Yes.
Now, so how we implemented the select single statement? See the first example. We defined that work area with reference to database table. And what is the statement we are using? Select single star. What do you mean by star in select statement?
All fields.
Select all fields.
Select all columns or fields for that single record. If there are 20 fields in the record in the table, it will select only single record. Every time it's going to select only single record, but with all the columns. Okay, that record contains all 20 columns. Okay, when we use a select single star, but what is the recommended? Is it recommended to use star? No, because you are
No.
unnecessarily selecting lot of data, which is going to cause which issue? Performance issue, right? The program will take a lot of time to execute because it needs to select a huge amount of data from database to application. Clear? That is why we need to minimize the data size by selecting only required fields. Whatever the columns you are using in your program, do not select all the columns. Okay? Is everyone clear?
Yes.
How to select required columns? Only selected columns. For that, what you need to create? A type structure
Define.
or a data dictionary structure with the required fields. You know, right? How to create a structure with required fields? Select, choose columns. What are the columns required? Either you create a type structure with types begin of, end of, right? And include all the columns what are necessary and define a work area with reference to this type structure. Okay, then this work area will contains only fields which we defined in the type structure. You can also create data dictionary structure if you want to reuse the same in different programs. Okay, so data dictionary structure is global, you can use in many programs, but type structure, it is not global, it is local to the same program. Okay, and when we are writing the select statement, we write select single and we specify the selected columns in the same order. Whatever the order you maintained in the type structure, right? You need to use in the same order. Okay? Is everyone clear?
Yes.
Now, we have also created select statement using inline declaration. We have created select statements using inline declaration. How did we do that? Select single, mention the columns. We use comma here. In normal select statement, we do not use comma in between the column names. But in inline declaration, new ABAP syntaxes, we use comma. Okay, city from into. Do we need to define a work area here in inline declaration concept? Do we need to define
No,
work area separately? Do we need to create a type structure separately? No, you do not need
no.
it.
No.
create your own work area in the select statement itself by using at the rate data statement by using at the rate data statement. Okay, we create a work area using inline declaration. What do we call this? Inline declaration. Okay, for example, w underscore emp data where emp id equal to 100. But we cannot
Escape symbol
directly
is
use. So if it is a constant value, we can directly pass here. But if you pass any parameter, right? Parameter or variable, for example, you have to pass escape symbol here. Okay, like this. Is it unclear? This is how we use inline declaration without defining any work area or type structure. You can directly write the select statement so that it will automatically generate this work area. Okay, is everyone clear? By using inline declarations, you can define or you can define variables. You can create internal tables automatically. Okay, we'll see when we are working on the report programs. Is everyone clear till here? This is the program
Sir,
what we. Hmm, yes.
for querying only selected fields, is it mandatory to create type structure, or can we directly
Yes,
go to the
yes. In
report form?
ECC system, it is mandatory to create. Okay, either type structure or data dictionary structure. Okay,
Okay.
because you need to define a work area there, right? So what is the reference for that work area? Here we are selecting only required columns. You have to define that work area, right, with only those required columns. For that, we need to define a type structure. Within the type structure, we maintain all the columns. There is another concept where we can use move corresponding. So we have a concept called move corresponding, where it will automatically compare the columns and pass the values, but that is not recommended because it will cause performance issues. Okay, you can define a work area with reference to the database table, and you can use. I'll show you here. Into corresponding fields of here you do not need to create a type structure. You can directly refer with the database table. So what it will do here, it will automatically match the columns, whatever the columns you are using in the select statement. It will try to match the work area columns and keep values in the corresponding columns. Okay, but the work area structure contains the complete data, right? Let me show you here. Comment this. This is inline declaration. I am commenting this. Now, how we define the work area with reference to database table, right? So now this work area contains all the columns which are available in this database table. Yes or no?
Yes.
And we are using select single star. What we are saying here, hey, select all the columns from the database table, right, into work area so that it will place values into corresponding fields of work area. Now, I have defined that work area with database table reference. Still, I want to select only selected columns, right? EMPID and city. What about this structure? Sorry, this work area structure. Is it matching with the columns what we are selecting? We are selecting two columns in a different order, but here in work area, it contains all the columns in a separate order, right? These both are not matching. This contains 8 columns and this is 2 columns. Also in a different order. Not matching, right?
Yes.
Let's see how this will work. Is there any syntax error?
No.
No syntax error. Let's see how it's going to place data into work area. Execute the program, keep a breakpoint, execute. Check the work area structure. It contains 8 columns in a different order, right? Employee ID is here and city is here in the third position. But here, employee ID in the first position and city in the second position. Press F5. What is the sub RC value? SY sub
0.
RC is 0, right? That means select statement is successfully executed. But let's check the data. Is this accurate?
No.
No.
Is this correct?
No.
Employee ID 100, that is correct. What is this? Hyderabad, where it is placed?
Instead
In
of employee
Employee name.
employee name. But actually, that should come here in the city, right? So select statement will just keep the values based on this order. Okay, employee ID and city. It will keep in the first position and this will be kept in the second position. Right? It won't compare the field names. Right? This is incorrect data. Right?
Yes.
See, name is what type of data type? Name
What
what type
name?
of data type it is? Character, right?
Yes.
City also character, right?
Yes.
Since city is a character type value and name is also character type data type, we were able to place the value. We were able to place the value in place of employee name. But let's assume employee name is a numerical data type. Can we do that? Can we place a city value in employee name? Is the select statement is going to work?
No.
No, it's not going to work because you cannot place character data in the numerical value. You will get runtime error. Okay, you will get a runtime error if you try to place incorrect values in the incorrect position. Since it is a character type data, it's allowed. Okay. Now, what is the fix or what is the alternative for this? I still need to use database table reference, but I want to place my selected columns into respective columns of the work area. What is the option we have? Corresponding fields of. We need to use this statement. Corresponding fields of. Okay. Corresponding fields of. Check the syntax. Activate the program. Press F5 to execute the statement. Select statement is successful. Sub RC 0. Check the values now. Employed is in. Is it correct or not?
Yes.
So what it will do? Corresponding fields of. It will compare the columns which we maintained in the select statement with the column names of the work area. Right? It will try to match and place values into corresponding column names. Right? So it will take time for that comparison. Right? It will take time for that comparison. That's why it will
Okay.
take more time than the normal select statement. If you use a corresponding fields of, that is why we do not use this corresponding fields of. And what is the best alternative? Define a type structure with required fields and define a work area with reference to the type structure and write the select statement. Okay, here you do not, here the system does not need to compare the columns, right? It will automatically place columns into, sorry, it will just place the columns into the correct order. Okay, is everyone clear? And if you are using inline declaration, even you do not need to use type structure or corresponding fields of, right? If you are using inline declaration, you can avoid corresponding fields of and type structure concept. You do not need to worry about all of them. Just mention your columns here so that it will automatically generate the work area with these column names. Okay. Is everyone clear?
Yes.
So to improve the performance of your program, if the program is taking more time, just check is there any this kind of statements in your program, right? So we need to replace this program, these statements to improve the performance in support projects. Okay, is everyone clear on this?
Yes.
Using select single statement. Now select data into internal tables. So what is the property of internal table?
Not more than one record.
Contains multiple.
So it holds one
More than
or more record,
one.
at least one record or multiple records during program runtime. Okay, during program runtime. Okay,
Yeah.
let me create this program. Save the program. Define a parameter. This is optional. You can use hard coded values as well. Type. What is the data element? EMPID, I think. Now, what is our requirement? We need to select data into database tables. Now let's check the table first. In which scenario we go for internal table? For example, we are selecting data from ZDemo employee. What is the input in our program? What is our input of our program? Tell me.
Employee ID.
Employee ID.
Primary key.
If you just pass the employee ID as input, is there any chance of getting multiple records from this database table? If you
No.
just pass the employee ID as input, 100. Every time you are going to get one single record corresponding to that employee ID. Because here, what is the primary key? What is the primary key in this table? Employee ID is the primary key. So all the records are going to be maintained uniquely by employee ID, right? Every employee ID is going to contains only one single record. Yes or no? If the employee ID is the input, do we need to write select statement to select data into internal table? Is that required?
No.
No, right? Because every time you are going to get one single record. If you observe the table, right? You do not need a internal table. That's why let's change the input to which one? Any non-primary key field. Observe any non-primary key field. If you use non-primary key field, is there a chance of having multiple records with the same values or not? For
Yes.
example, multiple employees from the same city, multiple employees joined on the same date, multiple employees contains same phone number. That is not possible, right? Usually that is not possible. But here, if you observe the table, we can maintain same phone number for multiple employees, right? because it is a non-primary key field. Yes or no?
Yes.
Multiple employees from the same country, right? That is possible. Let's take city as input for this program. So I want to see report. I want to see a report where I want to check who are all the employees working from a specific location. As a manager, I wanted to see who are all the employees working in a specific location. That is what my requirement to for this application, for this program. In that case, what is the input I am going to use?
City.
City, right? And write a select statement. What is the prerequisite to write select statement? Define the data object.
Data
So
object.
now tell me, what is your expectation? Is it a non? It's a non-primary key field. Are we going to get only single record?
No.
No. There is a chance of getting multiple records. Sometimes you may get single record, right? But there is a chance of getting multiple records. Now, what is the data object we need to use here?
Internal table.
Internal table we need to use. Use some naming. LT in the sense local table, or you can also use IT. IT means internal table. It is just a name. You can assign any name here, but always try to use a meaningful name. Okay, it is not a syntax, right? It's a name we are going to assign for the internal table. Whatever I am typing in uppercase are the syntax. Type standard table of this is the syntax to define the internal table. You can also use table of, okay, or standard table of. What we need to use here? Database table,
Table.
ZDemo, employee. Now we are defining this internal table with reference to the complete database columns. Okay, all the database columns will be part of this internal table. Now, what is the suitable select statement? Select. Are we going to use single? No.
No.
Select star from database table. Where we need to keep the records, whatever the selected records, where we need to keep them.
Data object. Internal.
Into, are we going to keep them in a work area or internal table?
Internal table.
Internal table. Then into table, usually we miss this table when we are writing the select statement, right? The common mistake is we are not going to use this table keyword for the internal tables. Okay? Into table, internal table name, it underscore emp data, where condition, where to filter the data, where, what is the where condition? City equal to
City.
p underscore city, whatever the city entered by the user, or you can also pass the hard coded value like this. Okay, is everyone clear? Always remember, when we are passing the value, check is it a case sensitive or not. If it is a case sensitive value, pass value in the same order, okay, same format. For example, like this. If it is not completely uppercase, you have to pass value in the same format. Otherwise, even though you pass Hyderabad as a value, you may not be able to select the record. Okay, is everyone clear? I'm using parameter as input. What is the next statement? How can you know that select statement is successfully executed or not?
System variable.
What is the system variable?
Size of access.
Hmm. If sy hyphen sub rc equal to which one?
0.
0. What does that mean? Success or failure?
Successfully run.
Successfully executed. Select statement is successfully executed. Okay. Sorry, it's right. Select state, right state. Okay. Check the table, activate it, keep a breakpoint here. Hmm. What's the input? Hyderabad as the input. Execute. F5. Select statement is executed. What is the sub RC value? 0. That means it should be successfully executed. Double click the internal table to check the records. How many records are selected?
4 records.
4 records. So all these employees are with the city as Hyderabad. Okay, we are able to select 4 records into internal table. But how to process this internal table? How to display data from this internal table? How can we display the data from internal table? Can we use
Like
write statement? Right? IT underscore emp data. Is it going to allow? Check the syntax. What it is saying? Cannot be converted to a character like value. So we cannot directly display data of the internal table using write statement. Okay, we need to use loop statement. We need to loop the data into work area from internal table to work area, and from work area we can display the value in the output using write statement. We cannot directly display the data using a internal table. What you need to use? A corresponding work area to this internal table with the same structure. Okay, how to define a work area? W underscore emp data. Instead of type standard table of what we need to use? Same table reference.
Table.
Okay, now this will define a work area. And how can you loop the records one by one? I'll take a different class on loop statement and everything, but just quickly check here. Loop at internal table name into where?
Work area.
Work area. So what this work area will do? Loop statement will do? It will loop for certain number of times. Depends on number of records in the table, internal table. And it's going to keep record by record, one by one into work area. Okay. For example, if there are 10 records selected into this internal table, and if you loop this internal table using loop statement into work area, how many times this loop is going to execute?
10 times.
10 times. First time, first record will be placed into work area and loop completes. And the second time, second record is going to be placed into work area. Third time, third record is going to be placed into work area. So this loop will continue for 10 times. Okay. Every time it will place record by record, one by one into work area. Okay. Every time the previous record will be overwritten with the next available record. Okay. And we display data from work area. Okay. Is everyone clear? First time, first record will be displayed. Second time, second record will be displayed. Third time, third record will be displayed. Like that. Activate this and check. There is one small thing we need to add. Keep a breakpoint and execute the program. Pass city as the input. F5, select statement is successful. How many records are selected? 4 records are selected. Now, let's say I want to know after execution of the select statement, I want to know how many records are selected from the database table into internal table. I just want to know the count. How many records are selected? How can you know the count? by using a system variable. Which one? sy hyphen dbcnt. This is a system variable which holds the number of records selected from the database table. Is everyone clear? sy hyphen db count. It will holds the count, records count selected from the database table. Is everyone clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, let's continue with our loop. Now our control is here. If statement is completed. Now initially work area is empty. Now loop statement is executing. You can either use this F5 or function F5 in your keyboard. Okay. You can also use this F5 single step. F5 loop statement is executed. Observe this tab x value. Observe this tab x value. One record is placed into work area. Which one? The first record is placed into work area and write statement is executed. Loop is completed. Next loop is again started. F5. What is the tab x now? sy tab x value.
True.
Because it is the loop is processing a second record. So sy tab x value holds a loop count. Which one it contains? Loop count, sorry, record, right? Whatever the current record you are processing, it contains that record number, tab x number. Okay. Third tab x is 3. We are processing the third record. Okay. Fourth record, display the output. Okay. So loop will execute for certain number of times, depends on number of records in the database table. Is everyone clear? Is everyone clear?
Habits concept.
So to process records of the internal table, we use a loop statement. So every time the loop will execute and keep the records into work area. Okay. Now I'll show you a small thing here. I'm adding a where condition. You can also filter loop statement. You can also control loop statement using where condition, where emp id equal to, I'm going to add one where condition so that I can show you one difference how tabix will work. I'll use only 104. I loop only 104. So you can loop only selected records, even though there are 1000 records in the internal table. If you want to loop only selected records, then we can use a where condition within the loop. Okay, is everyone clear? Now let's check how this statement is going to work. F5. Select the records into internal table. So records are selected. Sub RC0. Now, how many times this loop will execute? Now tell me. There are 4 records in the internal table. Now, how many times this loop will execute?
Only one.
Only one time, because we have added a where condition where employed equal to 104. There is only one record with 104. Press F5 and observe the tab x value. What is the tab x value?
3.
But we are processing the only first record only, right?
Yes, sir.
This is the loop count is 1 only, right? In the first iteration only, right? The loop is in. Why it is displaying 3? Because the record is in the third position. Please observe, it's a very important interview question. What is sy tab x? It, right? When you are looping the records, it contains the current record number or current record index. Okay. By using where condition, you are processing this record which is in the third position. Okay. That's why the current tab x value is 3. Okay. There is another system variable. Observe the system variables sy hyphen db count. What is this for? What is this for? SYDB count.
Number of records containing
Number of records selected from the database table into internal table. SY tabix,
table index name.
current, the position of the current record which you are processing in the loop statement. Okay? Position of the current record which you are processing in the loop statement. If we do not use where condition, so the tabix value will start from 1. Okay? But since we are processing only selected records and we selected the third record, the tabix value is set to 3. There is another select statement, S5-INDEX, index. What is this index? It contains the loop count. When we are using do loops, where loops, we have certain loop statements. So at that time, you can observe the difference, right? Difference between SY tabix and SY index. SY index holds the loop count. How many times the loop is executed? Now let me delete this where condition to observe the index. Execute it. F5. The records are selected. Now let's check tabix versus index. First time the loop is executed. Is it updating this index? It's not updating. So it counts, do loop counts. I'll write a simple statement here. So when the index will work, it's very important interview question. Do 10 times. I'll explain this do loop separately. Just observe and do. It's nothing to do with our select statement. I'm pressing F7 to jump to our do loop. Now let's observe the index F5. What is the index number? 1, 2. So the index will keep on increase. So what this index will do, S5 index will do, it will keep track of the count, number of iterations it is happening in the do loops or any while loops. Okay. But S5 tabix, it holds the internal table record position, right? What is the current position of the internal table record? So what is the position of the internal table record? That is what SY tabix holds. But index counts the loop number of, right? How many times the loop is executed? Not with the internal table, but the do loops. Okay? Is everyone clear? The difference between tabix and index. SY tabix holds record position of the internal table in the current loop. Index is to count the loop in do loop or while loop. How many times the loop iteration is executed? Okay, is everyone clear? Is everyone clear on this?
Yes.
Now let's jump to the next scenario where we need to select only selected fields. How can we do that?
Define type structure.
Define a type structure. Types begin of ty underscore emp data. Mention the fields, columns, whatever you require. Emp id, type, zdemo, empid, comma. Let's assume we select only city column, city type underscore gp, end of type structure. You can also create which one, database structure instead of this type structure. Okay, one second. Okay, type structure is completed with required fields. And what is the next step? Define the internal table.
Internal table.
Emp data type standard table of which one? Do we need to use database table or type structure?
Right.
Type structure. You can also create a database structure instead of type structure. Sorry. Sorry. Okay. Now write a select statement. Select empid city
CP.
from database table into where you need to place these records into table
Table.
internal table name it
Internal.
underscore emp data.
Table.
Hmm. Where
Where
what is our input? City, right?
city.
City equal to whatever
Whatever.
the value entered in the parameter, or you can also pass the hard coded value. If sy hyphen sub rc equal to 0, and if the rest of the things are same, use loop statement to loop the data, loop the internal table, and display the output from work area.
Different one.
For this work area is also needed, right? Let's check. We cannot use database table reference for work area as well, because both internal table and work area should refer to the same type. Okay, w underscore emp data. We do not use standard table of, just use a type structure. Okay, is everyone clear? Activate this. F5. How many records are selected? 4 records with only selected columns, required columns. Yes or no?
That's it.
Yes.
What is this? Why it is displaying CTY?
The structure we define, it is
Because
city.
we have used incorrect name in the type structure. But here we are using correct name only, right?
Yes, sir.
Even though we use incorrect
Yes.
name, what did you observe here? Column names might be different from the type structure and whatever the database tables you are using. What it will consider? Only the order, right? It try to matches the order. What is the column that is available in first position? The value from employee ID will be placed into first position. What is the value? What is the value we are selecting? In the second position, city. So this city value will be placed in the second column, right? So that's why order is very important here. Column names might be different. Okay, is everyone clear?
Yes.
You do not need to use same names, right? In the select statement and type structure, you can use different column names also. But in the select statement, can we use a different column name other than database table? No. In the select statement, you have to use column names which are available in the database table. That is mandatory. But in type structure, you can use different column names like employee, like that. Okay. Is everyone clear? It is displaying in the same line. The right statement displaying all the records in the same line, not displaying in the next line, right? For that, what we need to use slash here. In the right statement, use backslash. So it will create a new line for every record. Okay. Is everyone clear?
Sir, what if we use city and employee ID? Both are of different data types, right?
Correct.
So the
Different data
order is
types in the
same.
sense, yeah, data types are same, character type data only, but length is different.
Okay. So in the based on position,
Yeah, based on position only, it's going to place the value, right? Okay.
so in the select query, if we use city first and employee ID next,
Mm. It will
what it will.
place city value in employee ID and employee ID in city.
Okay.
If you flip like this, right? We got city in employee ID and employee ID in city. Okay.
So if we go for a different data type, it will
Let's assume, let's assume we take integer. Okay, integer data type for city. Let's assume city is integer data type. What it is saying? The data type of the component city is not compatible. So if there is an integer, it won't allow you to place the value, right? Since it's a character type data type, it is allowing. That's why when you are working with character type data, right, you need to make sure you are placing in the correct position. Otherwise, you might get incorrect results. And select statement is not going to display in here. Is everyone clear?
yes.
So when we are using type structure or structure, it will just check the position. Okay, it won't check any column names. Okay, you can take like this. Okay, but in the select statement, you should use column name which is available in the database table. Okay, the column is created with employee, but the values are coming from employee ID. Okay, is everyone clear on this?
Yes.
Now let's see the third scenario where we do not use any type structures or internal table declarations or work area declarations. How to write select statement to select only required columns using which concept?
in, inline.
Inline
Inline
declaration.
declaration.
ID, comma, city from into table. Hmm. Did we define the internal table? I commented everything. No, right? There is no internal
No.
table declaration available. Work area declaration also not available. Into table. What is the syntax for inline declaration? At the date
Escape symbol data.
data of
Data.
what we need to use here? Internal table
Internal
name.
data.
Internal table name. Let's assume like this. I'm removing into table and I'm it underscore emp data. Now, what type of object it is going to create in inline declaration? Internal table or work area?
It will become work area.
Work
Why?
area.
Why? Because
It's not
we are
really
not
this
using table
table.
statement here. Then it considered as a work area. Even though you use IT, this name doesn't decide what type of object it is. This name we are going to assign for our understanding. That's it. Technically, it's not going to decide what type of object it's going to create. Okay? Is everyone clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Hmm. Next,
Same
where
thing.
city equal to escape sign, we
Escape.
have to use city. Okay? Is everyone clear? If sy hyphen sub rc equal to 0, then what we need to do? Display the output. Can we directly display data from internal table?
No, sir.
What we need to use to display the output using write statement?
Loop.
Loop.
Work area, right? We need
Yes.
to loop the records into work area one by one
Okay.
and we can display the work area data using
So,
write statement. But do we have a work area now?
No.
no.
No, we do not have work area. Now to do the loop statement, work area is necessary or not?
Yes, sir.
Necessary, right? Loop at what is our internal table name? It underscore emp data
EMP data.
into how about work area? We can define one
Values.
work area here using data
Data.
statement using inline declaration data statement. At the rate is not required here. Escape symbol, just a escape symbol, which we use only in the select statements. Here it is not required. Okay.
Yes.
Data
Okay.
statement will create a work area dynamically. Data of w underscore emp data end loop, right? W underscore emp data. Is everyone clear? Is everyone clear on the inline declaration? We did not define the type structure. We did not define the internal table and work area. All of them we defined in the select statement and the loop itself. Right? This is how you define work area. Okay? Is everyone clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, let's assume we have data in this IT EMP data internal table, right? How can we move this data into a different internal table? Simple. Define one more internal table using data statement equal to this one. Now, the statement is going to create one more internal table LTEMP and whatever the records available in this internal table are going to be placed into this internal table. This is how we can use inline declaration. Okay, we'll see that later. Check the syntax, activate the program, keep a breakpoint. F5. How many records are selected? 4 records. Its column names are employee ID and city. Looping the internal table. This work area is also created with 2 records. Sorry, 2 columns. And it's going to display record by record. Is everyone clear? Is everyone clear on this inline declaration concept?
Yes, sir.
Can we use a different name here instead of employee ID? Can we use employee?
No.
No. But my requirement is in the output structure, the column name should be employee. Is that possible?
No, sir.
We can use a
So,
concept called alias
yes.
names. Yes, employee. Yes, EMP city, employee city, like that. We can use alias names in inline declarations, new ABAP syntaxes. Okay, now execute. Check the internal table. What are the column names here? Employee and EMP city. Column names are changed. Okay, we can use alias names to do this change of column names. Okay, is everyone clear?
Yes.
So this is how we select data from database tables into work area and internal table, and we loop the internal table data using work area. Right? Work area will keep record by record and process the data. Okay. So the loop count depends on what?
Records.
Record.
Records.
Number of records available in the internal table. Okay. So that many times
Yes.
the loop will execute. Is everyone clear?
Yes. So it will also impact performance, sir.
If you unnecessarily loop lot of records, right? It will take a lot of time to process all those records. That's why whatever the logic you are writing inside the loop statement, you should make sure that is optimized, that is correct one. Okay. If you unnecessarily keep any logic here, right? What's going to happen? How many times that logic going to be executed?
Based on number
If you
of records
keep
in the loop.
any logic in between the loop and end loop, it will execute repeatedly until the loop is completed. If there are 10,000 records in this internal table, this logic will execute for 10,000 times. Okay, that's why whatever the logic you are placing inside the loop, you should be careful. Is it required to execute repeatedly or not? You should think about it, right? Whatever the logic that should not execute repeatedly, right? Don't keep inside the loop and end loop. Okay, and we do not use select statements and any database related statements within the loop statements. That is not recommended because it will impact the performance. Okay, is everyone clear?
So we used where condition. So
You can use where condition in loop statements. For that, you need to know, right, the scenario, exact scenario, what kind of records you wanted to process. Instead of loop, right, we have one simple statement cl demo output display. We place the internal table name or work area name here. This is a method, test method, display the demo output. Okay, it will display the demo output. So you do not need to use loop statement to process the to display the output, but by using this demo output method, right, you can display internal table data in the output. Execute. Right. It will display the output like this. Okay. Do not need to, no need to use a loop statement. Okay. But just for your understanding, I have added the loop statement because we use loop statement for many other scenarios. It is very important. Okay. So alternatively, you can also use this when just to work with select statements. Okay. CL demo output display method. So keep your work area or internal table here in between the brackets. So whatever the data available in this, it will automatically display in the output.